All right, guys, so check it out. Let's see what we've done so far. So far, you've created some really good ideas, or you come up with some really good ideas. You kind of know what you think you want your product to be. You've thought about who your audience is, and you've thought about the different types of products you can make, right? So we kind of reviewed all that, and you should have a good idea in your head. And you don't have to have a firm, uh, you know, concrete plan yet, but the idea is to push forward and to become more and more sure of what you want as you push forward. So we don't want to sit and stall and wait to get everything started, because guess what? If you wait, you're never going to get anything started. So now let's talk about creating our domain names, which is basically just creating our website, right? So there are a couple different components to creating your websites. You got to register it. You got to know how to do that. You got to host it, and you have to point your domain name server if necessary. We'll talk about when you need to do that, and you need to install your WordPress. So let's talk about all the steps. So registering your domain is basically buying your domain name, right? So a couple different places to register. A lot of people use GoDaddy, some people use domain.com, some people use Network Solutions. And I'll show you up here. I shop around. I don't use the same registrar for my domain name every time. I shop around, but I'll usually use GoDaddy as a go-to to see if my domain name is available. So let's say that I wanted. Let's say that I wanted. Well, first of all, let's talk about what type of websites you need. There's two types of websites you need. You're going to need a content site, which is a blog, and a landing page, which is basically the page that's going to funnel into whatever you're selling. We'll talk about why it's important to have that content page, in a future video, and we'll talk about exactly how to set up the landing page now. Those are kind of out of the scope of this video, but it's something to think about. You need two websites, at least two websites, or you can do a subdomain. Again, we'll talk about that. So kind of what I do is when I want to register something, I shop around and I determine if a domain name is available, right? So I kind of use GoDaddy for this. There's no reason why I use GoDaddy. GoDaddy is kind of like my Google of domain name availability. So I'll say, like, let's say I wanted to, for my blog, I wanted to get awesomeblog.com. It's probably not going to be available. It sounds too good to be true. I'm sure it's not. Yeah, it's not. And usually on most websites you'll have some sort of indicator up at top what's available for you to actually buy. So you can see now that like .com is definitely not available, but they have .co, .info, .net, .org, .ws, all this type of stuff. And so then they also have the price down there, and so you can buy it from here. Here's my take on this, and maybe I'll put this in here. This is and you can tell this is live. Which extension should you get? Here's my take. An extension is just the .co, .info, .com. People are like, oh, if I can't get a .com, should I get a .net? Should I do a hyphen in between? Because sometimes you might see down here, they'll give you alternative spellings of how you could spell it. They'll suggest maybe you can do it with a hyphen or something. My take is this. If you can't get your exact .com domain name, and you want to try to get your domain name for like either your exact keyword or your exact name. So like, for instance, I always name my blogs after me. So like my blog is, try to show you, my blog is danielzpiazza.com. It's really helpful to have your blog as your name, because that way you're establishing yourself as a brand, and whatever you talk about will be representative of your brand. If you decide that you want to change your focus later, you can always change your focus, but your name is still your name. So if you can register your name as your domain name for your blog, I definitely would go ahead and do that. You should always have your domain name. You should always try to have your actual name as your domain name somewhere on the internet anyway, just because you want to have that property. If you can, Daniel D. Piazza is a pretty easy name to get online, but if your name is a little bit harder, try something else. But anyway, so I'll go to GoDaddy and I'll think, okay, well, .com isn't available. .net is pretty good. It's not as good as .com, but it's the next step down. And then if you can't get .net or .com, go with like awesome/blog.com. So let's see if awesome/blog is available. Doesn't matter if you capitalize the A or not. Awesome/blog. Probably taken too. Yeah, Awesome Blog is also taken, but they have a .net. So I mean that seems like a pretty popular domain. It's not available. But anyway, so that's how you would search to see if your domain's available. And you'd want to find one that works for you and works for your product. So again, and you can see here like my personal site, that's my blog. That's where I write about my content. So I have my name as my blog. It doesn't have to be my name, but I like to name my blogs after my name. Okay? And then I also have my product page, my funnel page. So this is where you saw probably my product, Rich 20 something. So this is the name of my product, and so this is where I would buy that product name. So I would buy 2 domains. Okay, so once I've done that and I've shopped around, and by the way, GoDaddy and Domain.com, they're always going to be like around $9, $10 for a domain name. But Network Solutions right now, and I'll show you this. Network Solutions is always running specials. They're running like 75-cent domain name specials. So you can get a domain name for like 75 cents. Register.com a lot of times has like 50-cent domain name specials. You can even type online, you can type like cheap domain names, right? And you can see at the top, yeah, right now Register.com is 50-cent domain names, 75-cent domain names for Network Solutions, 99-cent domain names set up for at GoDaddy right now. So I shop around. It doesn't matter where you buy your domain name. A web property is still a web property. There's nothing. You're not getting anything special if you pay more. So don't pay any more. So buy your domain name. And I actually went through process of buying a domain name online before, and I messed up the video, and I'm not going to do it again. But it's pretty simple. Just type in the name that you want, go through the regular shopping cart purchase, and buy the domain name. Right? It's not too complicated. Once you buy the domain name, there are a couple different options. Look at my face there. There are a couple different options. But you're going to need to start thinking of where you're going to host. So, and I'll close this up so we don't have to get too complicated right now. Let me close this up so it doesn't overpower you. So once you buy your domain name, which is registration, you figure out what it's going to be. You have to figure out where you're going to host it. So a host is basically where all the information for your website is going to be stored. It's like a server. It's basically like a hard drive. It's like a hard drive out in the netherworld where you're going to store all the information for your website, all the content, all the videos, all the pictures, all the information. So there are different ways you could host it. I like Bluehost. I use Bluehost. There's also HostGator, which I've heard really good things about. I haven't tried them, but I've heard good things. You can also usually host your domain name where you registered your domain. So there are a couple things you have to think about. If you go with Bluehost, I know I'm going fast here, but if you go with Bluehost, this is what Bluehost looks like. This is Bluehost. Basically, it would be like you'd have to buy your domain name on one site. Like you could buy it on GoDaddy, and then you'd have to do what's called you'd have to point the DNS to Bluehost, which means point the DNS stands for domain name server. So you have to point the domain name servers to Bluehost so that Bluehost recognizes it's a site being hosted on their servers. Now that might sound a little bit complicated, and if it is, what you could do is you could actually register and host your domain name both on Bluehost, and you wouldn't have to worry about pointing anything in the right direction. If you bought a domain name on GoDaddy, you could actually buy the domain name and host it on GoDaddy. If you went to Network Solutions, you could actually buy it on Network Solutions and host it on Network Solutions. The reason why I don't do that, the reason why I have one place where I register and one place where I host, is because I know Bluehost is really fast. Their servers are really fast, so my websites load very quickly. But their prices for buying a domain name are not as cheap as like Network Solutions or Register.com, and so it's cheaper for me to buy one and transfer it. If that's too complicated for you, just go ahead and host your website where you registered it. So I'm going to show you the process of hosting it. A couple things that I wanted to point out to you, those are precautions. Be very careful about upsells and terms. So when you are buying so you're going to go through this process of buying your domain name, and let's say I want to buy, DanielDipiazzablog.com. See if it's available. This is on Network Solutions. Yes, it's available. So you're going to enter. You're going to add it to your cart. Then it's going to ask you a bunch of stuff. It's going to ask you, do you want web security? Do you want web privacy? Do you want email? Do you want you know, this, and that. Don't do any of the extras. Don't do any of the upsells. Be very careful of that. Make sure that at the bottom line of your shopping cart, it always says the price that you want to pay. You know, if it's a 75-cent domain name, you should only be paying 75 cents. Make sure that they don't include any weird terms in there like, oh, you signed up for 3 years at this price and now it costs you, you know, $128, something like that. Make sure it's always the price that, you know, that you think it's going to be. So let's say that you buy your domain name from like Network Solutions right here, and you want to post it. You want to point the domain name to Bluehost because you want to kind of mix and match and save some money. And by the way, Bluehost right now it's $4.95 a month, but to get that rate you have to sign up for 3 years consecutively, and they'll charge you for 3 years, so it's like $178 to get the $4.95 a month, which also is pretty good. But if you want to pay month to month, which might be nice at first when you're kind of dabbling in this, it's like $9 a month, still very good. So like think about it, if it's $9 a month, like I can get a little text edit, you know. If it's $9 a month, your total startup cost might be like the $9.99 per month plus, if you're paying like the 0.75 cents for the domain name, like we're talking like about $12 to start your online venture, which is really not bad, So yeah, it's definitely not bad. So you basically go through the same process with Bluehost and the same process with GoDaddy. Sign up, pay for their package, make sure you're paying what you want to pay, and bill your credit card, and you're done. So let's say that you buy your domain name on another website and you want to transfer it to Bluehost or another hosting account. All the hosting accounts look kind of similar, so I'm going to demonstrate on Bluehost, but it's basically the same thing. So this is once you sign up on Bluehost, this is your hosting account, and you log into it on the control panel. This is what your page is going to look like. This is called the CP, the control panel. Basically, all hosting accounts, whether you host on HostGator or Domain.com, wherever you host, they all kind of look like this. So this is what Bluehost looks like, but they all basically look like this. So once you log in here, then you're going to go to where you bought your domain name. So let's say I bought my domain name on Network Solutions. Remember this page? I actually did buy a domain name. I'm going to demonstrate for you here. Let's say I bought a domain name here on Network Solutions for 75 cents. Now I'm going to log into this account, right? And I'm going to find my oh, that's my address. You almost saw it. That's okay. I don't really care. You guys can call me, or you can send me a letter. So let's say that you logged into your Network Solutions here. This is where you bought your domain name, and you want to now point your DNS or your domain name settings to Bluehost so that Bluehost recognizes it. Pretty easy. Most places where you buy a domain name are going to have a very similar setup to this. So I know you might not have bought your domain name from Network Solutions, but you're going to see basically the same type of setup. And you want to find the thing that says Edit DNS, right? Okay. So I'm going to point. I actually have a website called Productive 20-something, which I'm working on, and I want to edit this DNS. DNS stands for Domain Name Server, right? So I'm going to go to Move DNS, and basically what DNS does is, again, it just points your server to where you want to go, right? So let's see more. Yeah. Oh, did I already do that? Well, I already did it. Well, that's okay. Well, I'll show you how to do it anyway. So basically, you'll have to go on your control panel to look for this. But let's say you want to know what the name servers for Bluehost are. Well, you're going to have to figure that out. So I just usually Google it. I say Bluehost name servers. Yeah. These are the name servers for Bluehost. So basically, you just take this ns1.bluehost.com, and in your domain name, or where you bought your domain, you just paste it right here. Paste it there for the first one, and you paste it there for the second one, and you just click Move DNS, and basically now it would say, okay, this website, Productive 20 something, is now pointed towards Bluehost, and now Bluehost can recognize it, and you can host all your content on Bluehost. It's pretty simple. It's not too bad. So I just go back to here now. I go back to my control panel. And once I was in my Bluehost control panel, I'd say, okay, now that I pointed my domain name to Bluehost, I want Bluehost to recognize it and add it to my account. So for that, I would go in wherever you're hosting, whether it's HostGator or wherever you're hosting, it's going to be something similar to this. But you want to do what's called an add-on domain. And once you do an add-on domain, you got to find which website it is that you want to add on, and so you type in, because right now your website's kind of in cyberspace and you want it to be firmly locked into Bluehost. So you just type in productive20something.com, and I think I've already registered it with my Bluehost, so it's not going to pick it up, or it's going to say it's already registered. Let's see what it says, verifying domain. Yeah, it's already pointed towards Bluehost, but it would say, but if it wasn't pointed towards Bluehost, it would say, okay, do you want to point it? And I would say yes, and it would just point it towards Bluehost, and all of a sudden I would see it in my account. So when I went back to my control panel for Bluehost or whatever I was hosting on, right? If I went to my domain manager, I guess I could go up to the top here and just go to Domain Manager. And I would see it, should see it right there, like under P. Yeah, there it is. Oh, I saw it. Right. So yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the process of taking your domain name, transferring it, and figuring out the hosting, pointing the DNS if you have to, and creating the add-on. So in a minute, we'll talk about installing WordPress. All right, guys. So basically, you should have installed, or you should have registered your domain name now. And so just to do a quick brief run through, you've registered it, you picked where you want to register it, you know that you need two websites, a content site and a landing page. Fine, you've done that, you've figured out your domain names, you've bought them. No matter where you bought them, after you bought them, you made sure they were registered. So if you bought at the same place that you, you made sure that they were hosted. So no matter where you hosted them, whether it's Bluehost like me or HostGator or someone else, and by the way, I'm not affiliated with Bluehost, I just use them. I don't have any type of, I don't get any type of money for promoting them. No matter where you registered them, you could even host them at the same place you registered them. It doesn't matter. And you kind of avoided, make sure that they didn't try to sell you a bunch of crap. You repointed your domain name servers if necessary. And just a little note: transferring your domain name servers. When you do that, if you buy on like networksolutions.com and you transfer to Bluehost, sometimes it will take like a day or two for, once you point your domain name, for like it to take effect. So sometimes you won't be able to see your new website in your host account, because it's like now it's in cyberspace, it's transferring. It might take a day to transfer from Network Solutions to Bluehost, and that's just the way it is. Sometimes it goes immediately, like within a minute. Sometimes it takes a day or so. So just that's something. Don't freak out when you don't see your website that you wanted to transfer. It will go there. And so you'll point your domain name if you have to. Now you want to, once you point it, you're going to turn it into an add-on domain, and then you're going to install WordPress. So WordPress, very important here. WordPress.com versus WordPress.org. Let me show you the difference. And this, if you have a web host like Bluehost, you don't really need to worry about this too much, because basically WordPress is the software that allows you to make your websites look really cool. It's a software that allows you to edit your page very easily, construct it, very sexy page constructions. And so each WordPress page has a theme. A theme is kind of like a skin on a cell phone. It makes the whole page look different. And then each page has things called widgets, which are like little tools and little devices on the page. So like this little side text is a widget, this little subscribe box is a widget, this little popular post is a widget, these over here are widgets, and these are all widgets. You know, and so you can go to Rich 20 something, which you guys have all seen before, and there's a whole different theme there. So like this is a theme called Optimize Press, and so there's like a widget down here with this stuff, and there's, you know, some different widgets over here, and this is a different theme, you know. But we'll talk about themes more aggressively, you know, and expansively later. So basically, all you want to do is once you've registered your domain name and you decided where you want to host it. Let's say you host it with Bluehost. It's going to look something like this. When you go to your page, I also have a web page called thestartupstarter.com. It's another website I'm working on. So if you host a Bluehost but you haven't uploaded WordPress to it yet, you're just going to have a blank little landing page like this. It will say, hey, you're registered with Bluehost, you know, now what? So basically, now it's time to install WordPress. So to do that, what you would do is first, you have to know the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org. WordPress.com is a free website that allows you to upload like your blog. So, but a lot of times they'll have blog extensions like, you know, danielsblog.wordpress.com. You don't want to register with WordPress.com, okay? You want to register with WordPress, or you want to download your software from WordPress.org. WordPress.com and WordPress.org are the same company, but WordPress.org is the software that allows you to do advertisements. It allows you to create a mailing list. WordPress.com is very limited. It has a lot of free features, but it doesn't allow you to do a complete sales process on WordPress.org. So I wouldn't recommend it. And also that you really can't use any widgets on WordPress.com. So you want WordPress.org. You won't necessarily have to deal with downloading the software if you have a host like Bluehost, though, because they'll do it for you if you just click a couple buttons. So so let me show you how this is done. So what you'll do is you basically go to your backend, your control panel of Bluehost, okay? And you'll just go to Site Builders or the equivalent of it wherever you registered, and basically you just click on Site Builders. You find the page that you want to build. So like these are all the websites that I have registered already, or that I have installed WordPress on already, but I want to install a new one because it's not installed yet. So I'm going to install it for thestartupstarter.com, right? And basically all I'm going to do is say, yeah, I'm going to give it a new name. It's not even really a new name. I just want to name it. I want to name it so that I recognize it in my folders. The Startup Starter, I'll know what that is. Then I can just change my my administrator name, and I'm going to stop the video real quick so I can put in my password, because for some reason it shows it doesn't stop it. So let me stop this for a minute. So pretty simple process. All I did on the last page was just click yeah, understand the terms and conditions after I entered my password in that I wanted, and now it's installing WordPress, and I'll show you how it looks. So great, now it says installing. It says installation complete. You can now access your new website with the following information. Great. So now if I go back to my my control panel, I guess. Should already be logged in for me. Yeah, so if I go back to my control panel, if I go to my my domain manager, well, I guess it was already here, but Bluehost but WordPress has now been installed on my website that you saw before. So remember before we saw this page for the startupstarter.com. Now when I go to the startupstarter.com, it's going to look different, because now WordPress has been installed. So it's a very, very simple. This is I don't even know what theme this is. This is a very simple theme. So let me show you in the next video how you'll access this to go in the back end, and actually I'll show you real quick. So to access anything on WordPress, you just type in whatever your website is /wp /admin. Type that in, and then basically we'll ask for your credentials. You put in your password, and then it will take you to the back end page where you can edit it's called the dashboard, where you can edit your page, and now you're up and running. So like you're ready to go, guys. And so let me show you how to start doing some editing on your page and make it look beautiful and make it look sexy like this, or like anything you want to make it look like.